Good morning. My name is Gail Stevenson, and I serve as the treasurer on the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spartanburg. I pulled my hair back because I was told that when I read, my hair goes down in front of me and y'all can't see me. So I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. So I'm trying to be conscientious of pulling it back. I'm delighted to welcome you all this morning, whether you are here at UUCS or virtually. This is a welcoming congregation where everyone is welcome just as we are. If you are visiting with us this morning, we would love to meet you to share more about the life of this congregation. Visitors' cards may be found in the pocket in the back of the chair in front of you. Please feel welcome to fill one out and place in the offering plate during the service so that we can connect with you. There are many important announcements on the sheets titled Connect at the back of your bulletin this morning. Please open your bulletin to see all that you can be a part of. Here are a few highlights. Our next pathway to membership class is this Sunday, March the 10th, following the morning service. Lunch and childcare are provided. Come to learn more about UUCS and how you can be a part of this thriving congregation. Well, you are welcome whether you have signed up or not. Registration for the church-wide mountain retreat is now underway. Come gather at the mountain on April 12th through 14th. Registration ends March 29th. If you haven't been to one of these, they're an amazing experience. You just really should consider coming. It's a really good time. After today's service, Fred Stoll will lead a facility walkabout, rollabout, sit about, talk about to discuss improvements to the RE wing as part of our mission objective to improve our facility, also known as the Operation Facelift. Join Fred at the end of the service. And now I would like to invite Amanda Richardson and Kimberly Hall, our annual fund campaign co-chairs, to come forward to give us an update on the annual fund campaign. Thank you everyone who has pledged support for the church in our next fiscal year. Thank you all for making this a place of care and kindness for every one of us. Thank you for making this a place of joy.
Good morning. My name is Kimberly Hall, and I, along with Amanda Richardson, are your annual fund drive co-chairs this year. We wanted to share an update on the annual fund campaign this morning by addressing some frequently asked questions.
What is the annual fund drive anyway? This is by far our favorite question. As the name implies, we do it every year. It's an ingathering of financial commitments for the next fiscal year, which begins July 1st, to sustain this beloved community. It's the single greatest source of revenue for the church budget, which includes fixed costs like Scott's health insurance, fluctuating expenses like the electricity bill, and budgeted expenses like money for the hospitality committee. The Finance Committee builds a budget from the amount committed that the board and then later the congregation votes on.
Second question, if I filled out an intent of giving form last year, do I still need to do it again? Yes. We don't know, please. We don't know that you plan to keep giving what you're giving unless you tell us. Every year's budget is developed based on what financial commitments are made for that single year. Remember that even if you have a bank draft set up or auto pay and don't plan to make any changes, we still need you to fill out a card to indicate that you plan to continue that same level of giving into the next fiscal year.
What if my contribution doesn't feel significant enough to matter? Trust us, it does. Every amount adds up to support the financial health of this dynamic congregation. Your $10 a month combined with someone else's $10 a week contribution adds up to cover the water bill for this building for the entire year. It takes all of us sharing in the expenses of this community to make it what it is.
What's the deadline for getting it turned in? Ideally, now. Today would be a wonderful day to get it done if you've not done so already. And we can still add to the lights for another week or so, but it's time to get this year's campaign wrapped up, if nothing else, so that you don't have to hear from us every week. We give our final report to the board on March 14th, so it's critical to get your pledge submitted before then.
Where are we with this year's goals? We are very, very excited to share a status report. $254,367 has been committed. That's 99.75% of our goal of $255,000. And that has been committed by 117 households, which is 94% of our participation goal of having 125 intent of giving cards submitted. It's incredible what we can achieve together when we each contribute our part. This is already the largest annual fund campaign in the church's history.
What if I have more questions? Ask us. You can also email us at stewardship@uucs.org or learn more at www.ucs.org/stewardship.
Thank you for your enthusiastic support of the campaign this year. It's been a joy to watch these letters light up over the past 4 months. Each light symbolizes 4 financial commitments, illustrating our campaign message. Your contribution matters. You matter. You light this place up. Thank you.
Good morning, all. For our chalice lighting this morning, I will be reading from Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Marie Brown. Everything, EVERYTHING, everything is connected. The soul needs rain, organic matter, air, worms, and life in order to do what it needs to do to give and receive life. Each element is an essential component. Organizing takes humility and selflessness and patience and rhythm, while our ultimate goal of liberation will take many expert components. Some of us build and fight for land, healthy bodies, healthy relationships, clean air, water, homes, safety, dignity, and humanizing education. Others of us fight for food and political prisoners and abolition and environmental justice. Our work is intersectional and multifaceted. Nature teaches us that our work has to be nuanced and steadfast, and more than anything, that we need each other at our highest natural glory in order to get free. If the goal was to increase the love, rather than winning or dominating a constant opponent, I think we could actually imagine liberation from constant oppression. We would suddenly be seeing everything we do, everyone we meet, not through the tactical eyes of war, but through eyes of love. We would see that there's no such thing as a blank canvas, an empty land, or a new idea. But everywhere there is complex, ancient, fertile ground full of potential.
Please join me on hymn number 91 in your gray hymnal.
Mother of all in every
Teach us compassion's gentle face and wisdom's mastery. Teach us to cherish this brown earth, its fragile beauty praise, and for the dreams your joy gives birth, a hopeful future raise.
Life is brutal. It's also beautiful. In equal measure, I believe. And often the brutal and the beautiful intertwine and occur at the same time, making it very complex and confusing. I think there's a reason we were made to be a community and not out there struggling on our own. Because those around us that surround us, that hold us and care for us, help mitigate the brutal, amplify the beauty, and keep us from losing the beauty to the brutal. This ritual, the Rippling Bowl, is one of our most powerful and meaningful rituals for exactly this reason. It is a powerful, powerful symbol of being able to give over whatever we hold, whatever brutality we must wrestle with, to the community, and to allow the community to rejoice with us in the beauty. Please, as you are ready, willing, able, and wish to, come and share a stone, a shell, or both to symbolically give over to the community whatever needs you have to give over. And if you're watching us online, or you don't wish to get up, or you can't get up, or for any reason coming to the bowl is not an option or a choice for you, please know that we hold you as well. We here at UUCS, we don't have a creed or dogma. We don't have rules written by someone else that we are required to follow. But that does not make us any less faithful, for we are a deeply faithful congregation, so much so that we've made our own promise and make our own choices to affirm it every week. Please join me in reading the covenant. With courage, we say, we are a people of faith and hope. Together we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean decisiveness, and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of a love beyond belief. And now comes the time where we greet one another. Please share your presence, whatever it is today, with those surrounding you. Please honor people's boundaries. I think we're pretty good at that, but always good to remember. But please, with your whole heart, whatever level of physical affection you're comfortable with your whole heart, please greet one another this beautiful, beautiful morning. And please, when the music starts back, return to your seat. You can leave that heart wide open, just put the bottoms back in the pews. Let the holy chaos begin. Oh, come on, guys. I think this is worse than normal. tell you what, it's what I love about the UUs. We even make the good girls be bad. So. Now it's time for our offertory. This community, this congregation, this building, this place is a living, breathing organism that must be fed to be sustained, to grow, to be all that it can be, to keep it not only alive, but thriving. And that innate spark going. There are a myriad of ways for us to feed this community and this congregation, and they all have value and they all matter. But even in this world, in this community where we don't necessarily overly value material goods, they are a reality and part of what must be fed to this place. So I now ask you to give what you comfortably can to help this community continue to be the strong, thriving community that it is.
Far beyond the grasp of hands, your light to meet the eye, past the reaches of the mind. There find the key to nature's harmony in an architecture so entwined. Like the birds whose patterns grace the sky and carry all who join in love expanding. The message of peace will rise in flight, taking the weight of the world upon its wings. In the oneness of everything, peace is in the dance of trees who stir before the first breath of wind is yet perceived. Trust in the song becoming one with the dance, and all mysteries can be believed. Songs of lives long past that touch our own are written in the earth, ever giving, and now to maintain the harmony gives to us all lives worth living. For the oneness of everything. Still we seek to find a truth that we might understand and reduce to terms defined. Vast and immeasurable time and space, also overwhelmingly designed. Oh, passing years, just might I know the faith that winters in the heart need to be reborn in spring, to hear and to feel the pulse of life enters my soul as a song to sing of the oneness of everything.
Gentle, generous, pacifist, inclusive, mystical, as they themselves were. This is from an interview with Egyptian-born scholar Leila Hamed. You know, when people think about Muslim women, they think of the image of Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan. Why is that when 90% of the Muslim world does not wear any of this stuff? And why is it that I never get called by a journalist? I get constantly called and asked to explain why Islam oppresses women. I've never yet been asked, why is it that Islam has produced 7 women prime ministers or heads of state, and Europe only 2 or 3, or whatever it is? And from her book, A Border Passage. It is easy to see now that our lives in the Alexandria house were lived in women's time, women's space, and in women's culture. And the women had, too, I now believe, their own understanding of Islam, an understanding that was different from men's Islam or official Islam. For all the women of the house, religion was an essential part of how they made sense of and understood their own lives. It was through religion that one pondered the things that happened, why they happened, and what one should make of them. Islam, as I got it from them, was gentle, generous, pacifist, inclusive, somewhat mystical, just as they themselves were. What was important was how you conducted yourself and how you were in yourself and in your attitude toward others and in your heart.
This week begins the celebration of Ramadan. Not all of us in this congregation are Muslim. Not all of us are Jewish. Not all of us are Christian. Some of us are decidedly none of these things. But every year, in solidarity with our siblings around the world, we observe these sacred celebrations, not out of our own adherence to a creed, but because this is a world full of people different than we are about whom we care. And so today, among all that we are doing, we honor our Muslim siblings. 1,400 years ago, in the month of Ramadan, a man named Muhammad was a businessman, a trader in an international network of trade routes in the city where he lived, experienced a revelation that would continue for another 22 years. That revelation was in part theological, but it was also communal, about bringing people together under shared vision to create a community of equity and justice called the Ummah, to bring people of disparate and warring tribes into unified, cooperative community with each other. This Ramadan, we see warring tribes. And we see the cost of our collective failure to create a community of equity and justice for all people. It is in the spirit of that community, the Ummah, the need that not only our siblings but all of us have to live in interconnected equity and justice for our mutual thriving, that we celebrate in solidarity with our siblings today. Join me in silence. build teams, share leadership. That's the meditation. This month, we are rushing forward from the launch of our purpose statement and mission objectives that our congregation worked so hard on to develop for 2 years, and that now are rushing ahead of us, pulling us forward. There's so much activity that is happening from these. And in congruence with Women's History Month, reflecting on what these objectives ask of us in order to implement them. And we're hearing voices of philosophers of leadership and activists who embody leadership. Adrienne Marie Brown and Brene Brown and other women who are their peers in reflection and action to help us think about what it takes to make good on who we said we want to be, who we say we want to be, how to actually do what we have said we want to do. There are these goals that we set for ourselves. And we are driving towards those goals. But there's a danger when we become so goal-driven. We can lose the very purpose that we think we're going out to achieve. And so there is a second motion, a paradoxical motion, so perfect for paradoxical beings in our cosmos, where the more we drive forward towards a goal, the more we have to build in mechanisms to include each other, to stop ourselves and circle back, so that the very purpose that we have intended, purpose of freedom, rationality, mutual thriving, inclusion, equity, doesn't wind up crushing anybody in our path. To be very frank, isn't it startling to hear the story of Ramadan's origins, given our own media exposure to Islam? Not a fair characterization of the lives of the majority of Muslims in our country, and we need to be chastened in that. But to hear that Islam began as an effort to bring people together, isn't that a disruptive memory to the way that we have received Islam in our own culture? We drive towards a purpose. We must always build in ways to make sure that we build each other, that we build community with each other, so that we don't leave each other behind or cause each other harm. In congregational life, this has particular dangers. One is the propensity of religious organizations to become religious institutions, to become self-righteous and self-limiting, and to shut out anybody who isn't like us or really like me, the person with the microphone. And this is very common. And that as we proclaim universal love, we create very small-minded exclusion. But there's another danger. As congregations develop and grow and build their energy and build their facility and have record-breaking annual fund drives and all of these wonderful things that fuel us forward, just to lose focus and to make those things the priority, important as they are. They're not the priority. And to become so focused on sustaining those institutional concerns, we become bureaucratic and cold, distancing, forget why we existed at all. Build teams, share leadership. This week has been an experience of all of this velocity and energy that we're enjoying. In this week, leaders from this congregation convened more than 100 leaders from our community in a gathering outside of the limits of our own city to think about the most vulnerable members of our community and how we can band together across all of our differences, creating an UMA here in Spartanburg to work together in support of our children who are poor and at the most vulnerable. And a whole team of our leaders gathered around a table and hashed out how to work with each other, how to share purpose with each other, how to move forward all of our objectives with each other for more than an hour and a half on a Wednesday night, working together to try to find ways forward. And call teams on behalf of the annual fund made calls at the behest of key leaders who worked with each other every day to analyze data and to think about where we are so they could bring us this standing ovation worthy report this morning. People on it every day as volunteers on top of all of their work and family life and everything else that they do. And our RE committee, and our facilities team, and our social justice team, and our worship team, and on and on and on. All of these people doing all of this work to produce all of these ways going forward. It's such powerful, energetic, inspiring cooperation. And all of that energy itself should cause us to ask, how the hell would we even do more? How will we fulfill this purpose? Build teams, share leadership. Because in the midst of all of this organizational energy and activity just in this 1 week, so productive and effective in all of the ways that has happened, so much praise to sing, so much good. And not to speak of what everybody's done in their own lives, which is really the purpose of all of this. What we do here is really just symbolic. It's what you go out and do in your own life that's what really matters. We exist to break through these walls. In all of this, we honored the lives of 5 people who passed from this life. Some in this week and some in weeks just before. You will see amidst this beautiful array of flowers, which are from celebrations of life in honor of these people, some members of this congregation and some who are in the heart of this congregation. This little vase of white roses, 5 white roses, in honor of these 5 souls that whether through a service or a visitation or a party or a phone call, our congregation has honored this week. Their names are inscribed by members of this congregation on the card surrounding that vase. In the midst of all of that, care and love and support for those people and their families, 5 women gathered in a home this week. One of them was dying, and one of them was grieving her death. And 3 of them came into that home to support those 2. 5 women in just one house in this UMA who stopped everything for 3 days to sit through long daylit hours and the night watch to accompany these 2 and this one to pass from this life. To be honest, they slept so little, I was worried we were going to be doing several celebrations of life. They ate so little, I worried for their well-being. They would not leave each other. They stayed with each other. And they saw their companion as far as they could go with her until her last breath and whatever lies beyond. It was my honor to step into that space on the last morning of that person's life, to share a small part in what was taking place, and most of all to witness the focus of love and care that is the heart of this congregation around that one life. One of those people was a staff member here. A person this congregation has ordained. Three years ago, you took a risk to bring into the work of this congregation not one but two trained ministers, and to empower your staff to work with the full flex of our skills to serve you and our world. And in this week, in addition to producing the bulletin that you have in your hands, and another bulletin for Celebration of Life service, and multiple digital communications, and all kinds of administrative work, and also caring for her family and her in-laws, and all the things it takes to just be a person making it through another week in this world. Ann Garner stopped for 3 days to sit in that home. And it's just a function of reality to say that if I were here alone, wielding the robe and the stole and the microphone alone, there's no way this congregation could have had the ministerial presence in that house for those 3 days. It just could not be. There were too many other things to be done, too many other commitments. And part of the genius of this tradition, in addition to loving your ministers, which I encourage you to continue with all of the genius you can muster, is also to constantly undermine the authority of your ministers. This is genius. It is paradox. I love it. And so Anne was outwomaned in that house by 4 people who are not ministers. And the care and love of this congregation pouring into that place was not only professional and ordained, but divinely human. Just human. How will we do the things that we purpose to do? Driving towards our goal while building community. Driving towards our purpose without losing each other. Build teams like those women in that house. Share leadership as you have given us permission to do in service to you and our world. Look at the depth of humanity we can offer each other.
Please join me in hymn number 148 in your gray hymnal. Let freedom span both east and west, and love both south and north, in universal fellowship throughout the whole wide earth. In beauty, wonder everywhere, let us communion find. Compassion be beyond all barriers of race, of color, caste, and creed. Let us
From one of my personal sheroes, Brene Brown, from her book, The Gifts of Imperfection. May we show ourselves and others the compassion that comes from knowing that we are all made of strength and struggle.
After the service today, there are several things that will happen, and one thing that will not happen. We're not going to do the talkback session. There's too much else that needs to happen, and so we're just going to do that on another week later in this month. Please forgive me. You can bring all of your enraged questions about today to that session. Undermine the authority. Fred Stoll is going to lead another of the walkabouts, talkabouts, sit-abouts, rollabouts, as we think about our facility. And today it is for the RE wing. And I really want to encourage you to go to that. Even if you haven't been a resident in the RE wing for the last 60 or 70 years, I want to urge you to go. Even if you don't have a child back there, I want to urge you to go. That is one of the major focus areas of our mission objectives. And it is a place that asks for all of our attention. And to be honest, the way that we're structured right now, it's easy for us to be kind of disconnected. The kids are back there and we're up here. And so I'm asking you to make the connection and go be part of this discussion. It's really important. If you are planning to be part of the Pathways to Membership class today, I have seen with my own eyes Deb Williams setting the table and preparing the food since this time yesterday. It is prepared for us, and she's asking that we go right on down so we can get started and enjoy the afternoon together. The danger with religion, with Islam and Christianity and Judaism and Unitarian Universalism and all of it, is that we forget our humanity and the reason we exist at all. To build the Ummah, community of equity and justice and care. Thank you for taking the risks to make it real.